Hi, so have you ever had a really good idea for a business that you would just love to do, but immediately afterwards you think, is it too late now? I'm after 50. Am I just too old? Is it too late? So if you've ever had that feeling, you're just certainly not alone. And today we're going to chat about that and some of the issues behind that kind of thinking and how we come to that thinking so quickly. And how also so many people have a misunderstanding about this stage of life, I feel. So join me today. So I do feel like the question that comes into our heads is not anything that we say out loud. Agreed? We tend to hide these things. We tend to feel a little self-conscious about things, our age or the way we look, the way we come across, are we tech savvy, all of this kind of stuff. So I do think that's a very, very common question, and it's a shame, it's sad, because we shouldn't feel like that at all. And here's why. Here's three things, first of all, that come to my mind that we should remember. We've worked hard. Whatever we've done, whether we've gone straight into motherhood, or we went to college and trained, even if we were out of work for a while, I'm sure we were busy doing something. And we've had many years to accumulate some work experience. And so we've got some wisdom from that. And we've also got experience. That the younger folks, and of course, this is not a dig at the younger folks today, obviously not. It's just simply a chat about us older folks who we really have to look at these things and why we have these thoughts and not be jealous, not be resentful, not be worried about how we're coming across to the younger generation. I really think that's important. But I do think there are factors that come into our minds. When I first started across the pond and back last January 25, one of the things, the big hurdles that I had to come across when I started my YouTube channel, and it is a kind of a business, but I really didn't see it too much like that at first. I wanted to document my expat journey, as some of my regular subscribers will know already. There's a little voice that we tend to hear, and it tends to come across like, well, shouldn't I have done that when I was younger? Anyone had that thought? Isn't this for people in their 20s and 30s? And will I have the energy? Will I have the energy, the mental and physical energy even, to do this, depending on what kind of business, of course. But all of these questions are coming into our mind when they might not necessarily come into our minds when we're younger. So I've had to combat all those. I have actually started my own second business, and that's what spurred me on to change my channel name to Second Act After 50, because I saw myself heading on into my second act after I had kind of established the way forward. Starting my first business in my 30s didn't come with it all the questions that I have now. Why? Because I was in my 30s, I was younger, I was not so worried about peer pressure or how I looked, things like that. So it fitted very well. It was very beneficial for us. I ran it from home, and it really worked well in our family situation. I was homeschooling our children at that time. But one of the biggest myths out there, by the way, I had to stop that first business because my husband became ill with a brain tumor. So unfortunately, that's part of my whole testimony and story. You can follow, look at some of my other videos for that story. I just need to take some water and stay hydrated. It's good to have really clean water. Okay, so one of the biggest myths that I believe that we have as older folks is that entrepreneurship belongs to the younger people. And do you agree with that? So honestly, the idea comes from social media. I think, let's face it, we're confronted and witnessing a lot of beautiful people, you know, very nice, pretty young ladies, good-looking men, lots of energy there, lots of understanding, lots of tech ability. And so we don't have some of that when we get into our 50s and 60s. So what we don't see though is this, okay? So many successful businesses have been and hopefully will be started by people in their 40s, 50s and 60s. Here's a few that I actually looked up and didn't know before I started looking into doing this video. First one that I'd like to mention is Colonel Sanders. Does anyone know which company he started? Well, a lot of people would be sad if he hadn't done it. He was over 60, apparently 62. He started KFC, KFC chicken, and look at how popular that is. How many millions of people love KFC chicken? So I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very glad that he didn't just worry about his age. So there's one example. I've written some down so I don't forget. Bernard Marcus. Now, I don't know these people very well. This is an American man who started Home Depot. And for my British viewers, that is a very, very large, like DIY type chain like B&Q in Britain. So he started that when he was over 50, around 52 or something. But he started that, and also Martha Stewart. I think she's an American lady. She started and developed a whole lifestyle and media brand. Again, she was over 50. And so there's various other examples that you could find, I'm sure, but there's just a few people that hopefully will inspire us as older people. I'm saying older people because I believe my message stretches all the way over from after 50 all the way up to, I don't want to put an age on it. That would be against the ethos of my channel. The ethos of my channel is do it now if you can, and if you want to have a go starting your own business after 50, 60, go for it. Why not? So I do obviously say this with caution, you know, if it involves a lot of money, a lot of financial commitment, obviously a lot of thought has to go into it when you're older. You don't want to sabotage your retirement savings too much. But usually I would say, in my experience anyway, time spent developing your business is always worth it. So that's my take on it anyway. Just be careful, of course. All right. So before I chat any more about this really, really interesting subject, I do want to mention and review these water filters that I was very kindly sent by Phoenix Gravity. And they actually sent me these for free, complimentary. They knew that I was a Berkey water lover. And why am I a Berkey water lover? So stay tuned. I'm just going to run through very quickly, not very long, review of how these water filters are such a blessing to our household. And I just sure know that when I'm talking about starting a business later on in life, staying well hydrated, eating well, exercising when we can, it's also very important. The whole holistic approach, in other words. So it's not just paperwork, it's not just having a bit of cash around or even the skills. It's about being well as well. We can't do anything if we're not well. We've had our Berkey water filter here for years. We took it across the Atlantic and back again. Absolutely wonderful to have fresh, great tasting spring water. So these Phoenix Gravity New Millennium Edition filter elements are made to work in most Berkeys, in fact all Berkeys, and they're offered in lieu of black Berkey elements not being available right now. So just a little benefit information for you. They still retain essential minerals, and that's why they're just over and above any other kind of water filtration, really. Long lifespan, up to 2,750 gallons per element, easy to clean and reinstall. It probably will work out on an average family just for drinking water many years. I actually did a test here, a very quick test. Tap water, the water from our Berkey filter, and a kind of generic. So the one on the left, okay, but very high evidence of chlorine there. Just didn't taste very pleasurable to drink. The generic one on the other side, on the right hand side, it was okay. I can see why people use those, but over and above is the Berkey. So thanks for hanging on in there with me today. What should our business look like today? Okay, so another big misunderstanding that we might have when we're thinking of doing this when we're older is it going to take a lot of money? Because let's face it, we don't want to take any too major risks unless we have a lot of savings, unless we're really blessed to have, expensive property, lots of savings, lots of 401ks and things like that, or lots in our 401k, I should say. So whether it's tutoring like I'm doing, or consulting, or selling an item, making an item, sharing content, a YouTube channel, whatever it is, I think it's like I've heard many YouTubers saying now, just start. A little bit different, I know, because with YouTube there's not so much risk in our minds anyway. We don't see it as a risk factor. We can just make a video as long as we have our phone and so on. So yeah, with a business it seems to be a little bit more of a risk factor, but hey, we can do it. So at this point I would like to ask you all, what would happen if you look back 5 years from now and you didn't start, or you didn't do that thing that you were so wanting to do? Not just starting a business, we're kind of focusing on that today because that's my exciting news, but would you feel worse if you hadn't tried and you hadn't tried to learn some new skills? Some of the things that could have stopped me from doing that are these. Number one is fear. Fear can be so devastating. It can be so disabling and hindering to us as people. And so, what kind of fear? Well, there's the fear of failure. There's the fear of technology, knowing that at some point we, as the generation who didn't grow totally up with technology, the generation below us, of course they did, and it's much more natural for them. But for us, we've kind of grown into it and baby boomers didn't have it at all. And so there's a lot of adaptation there needed, but it's possible. You can do it. There's a YouTuber that I watch sometimes. He's over 80. You might recall his name. If I can catch his name, I will put him in the comments. But I'm really proud of him. I respect him for doing a YouTube channel in his 80s, and also a lovely lady called Sandra who is also in her 80s, and I will list those two guys below if you'd like to look those up if you're interested. But I mean, they're really doing well, and I'm so glad that they didn't just let this fear overcome them. So yeah, the fear of looking foolish, where does that come from? That definitely comes from comparing ourselves to the younger generation, the younger ones who are all quick and ching 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 with their editing and their music and their image. And like I said, I'm not knocking them at all. this is where we're at in the world. This is their generation, and this is what is being cultivated. What I want to cultivate is that hope. I want to cultivate some thinking ahead, some enthusiasm for what we can do. It's not over yet. It's really not over yet. So stay tuned. If you are enjoying some of my content here, please consider subscribing. I would love that. It will help to further grow my channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you on here and sharing with you and hearing from you too as well, of course. So yeah, the fear of starting again, that can be huge. Because when I was thinking of starting this tutoring business, some of the things that I was thinking about a few weeks ago, it took me from October, when I moved back to the States, to Florida. I had already got this idea from friends. Got hiccups. I had already got this idea from friends who'd urged me and encouraged me to say, Steph, I really think you should open up your own tutoring business, and I'll be forever grateful to them for telling me that. Because without them saying it, they were in effect recognizing some of my skills. And at that point, I was so pretty much overwhelmed with moving house, relocating. The thought of starting a business and getting, on with the state LLC and all the business, all the paperwork, it was really beyond me at that time. But I didn't dismiss it, and I actually thought it was a wonderful idea, but I had to be ready. I had to overcome these fears that really, really did come into my mind. So yeah, there is a definite fear of starting again. Because when if we've had a business before, and we think about the ways that it all went wrong, or not all of it necessarily, but some of it, or ways that we made mistakes, we're thinking, I don't want to make that mistake again. I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want this to happen or that to happen. We've got the years behind us where we tend to think we have that imagination running riot. So I think we need to take a step back and stop. So when I got over my fears and I got my mind on this, I thought it would be wonderful to have a tutoring business. I'm a fully qualified teacher in Britain, UK, whatever you want to call it. And I care less nowadays about impressing people. Now that doesn't mean I don't care. Of course I care. I care deeply about people's feelings. But I care much more about, am I going to be able to be a service to people? Am I going to do this well? Am I going to be able to get the right clients? Am I going to build something, okay, that's not too stressful? Of course, we expect a little stress. And especially if you're running your own business, you're your own boss. You've got to think of everything. You've got to think of receipts and setting up at home or whatever you're doing. So yeah, there is a lot to think about. So during my setting up period, I'm not going to spend too long today on the practical side. I can leave you a PDF down there in the description if you'd like to know how to set up a LLC business in Florida. So each state in the United States has its own particular rules, and I'm sure over in the UK, similar thing, and other countries in Europe. But here in Florida, I've followed all their rules and set up my tutoring business, and I'm now officially an LLC. So when I'm working on setting up the tutoring business, I had to get over some worries about, have I got enough experience? Have I got enough skill base? Do I know enough? And so on. So as we did the first time around when we were younger, we didn't know it all then. When I started my bakery, I didn't know how to make einkorn sourdough. I had to learn. And I made German blackbreads and granolas and lots of delicious stuff. But this time around, of course, I do know how to teach and tutor. I've been teaching for over 20 years, so I do have that skill already in place. But undoubtedly, there's going to be things that I have to learn. But that's part of it. That's the breaks. That's the way it is. So we have our foundation in our 50s and 60s and beyond. We have a definite foundation. We have relationships with people. We have colleagues. We've gone through challenges. So if you are thinking today or this week or this month that you're too old or it's just too late, please reevaluate that, because there's so much out there that we can do. It's not just starting a business, but I intend to do a few more videos about other aspects of this similar thinking, this similar vein that we're on right now. So I will keep you in touch with how my small business is going. And thank you for watching, you guys. So if you've enjoyed this video today, you might like to watch Do It Now. I'm going to post it up here. So yeah, do it now. Don't delay if you're able to. And I will see you in my next video. Your second act can actually become the best chapter of all. Just ponder that for a moment, please. Cheerio for now.